got some commissioners. We've got a quorum, so let's go ahead.
All right, we are live.
Thanks. Glad everybody could make it. Welcome to the October meeting of the Norwalk Bike Walk Commission. My name is Tanner Thompson. I'm the chair. Without further ado, we're going to get to the first item on our agenda because we have several guests from the 715 project team with us, and we've scheduled them first so that they can get back to their lives after this. So, Greg, should I turn the time over to you to introduce them?
Um, Sorry, Tanner. Yeah, so with us tonight is FHI Studios. They're kind of the project team as part of the Route 15, Route 7 interchange project, and they're here tonight just to answer some of your questions. Ken Livingston from FHI Studios is kind of running the team here, made up of DOT and FHI Studios, and I believe Stantec as well. Ken, is that correct? I saw some members.
Yes, and Stantec's actually the lead firm on we're a sub-consultant to Stantec, and so
Oh, okay.
Reed will be leading the effort here and sharing a screen along with myself and some others. But and Reed
Gotcha.
will
Well,
introduce himself.
I'll hand it over to Ken, who will take it from here.
Okay, and Reed's going to share a screen.
Yes, I'm going to throw this up now. First, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And can you see my screen?
Yep. You come up as me, Reed, but there's not two Ken Livingstons.
There you go. What an honor to sit in the other Ken Livingston shoes today. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you everyone, obviously for having us on. Tanner had reached out to our team to kind of help give an update to the Bike Walk Commission about the 715 project. It's been about a little over a year, I guess, in early 2022, where we last spoke. So just thank you again for the opportunity to give you guys an update. I guess we'll start off doing some introductions. The one thing we wanted to point out right away is we do have some new faces on the project team. Myself, Reed Shankweiler with Stantec. So I'm taking over for John Eberly, who might have spoken at the last presentation. So I'm the PM on the consultant side. And then from the DOT side, we also have Kevin Burnham, who's now the Condat PM. So I guess starting off, we do have some members from Condat who were able to join. If you guys want to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, since you said I'm Kevin Burnham, I'm taking over for Andy Festenmeyer as the project manager for the 715 project.
And I'm Neil Patel. I'm a principal engineer with the DOT and the Major Highways Unit.
I am Christine Macron. I am the project engineer of this project from DOT side, and that's everyone from the DOT today.
Great. Thanks, Chriselle. So from Stantec, as I said, Reed Shankweiler, I'm the consultant PM for the project team, as well as the lead highway design for Stantec's efforts. And then we also have Gary Swords. Do you want to introduce yourself, Gary?
Yeah, thanks, Reed. Hi, everyone. This is Gary Swords. I'm the lead landscape architect from Stantec. I'm not taking the place of anyone. I've been involved with the project from the get-go. It's good to see everyone this evening.
There you go. But yeah, Gary provides the institutional knowledge from start to finish on this job. So glad to have him here. And then we also have Emily from a traffic side. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Emily Valentino. I am the traffic and safety engineer on the project.
Perfect. And then Ken from FHI, the other Ken Livingston from FHI. So I see myself as Ken Livingston.
I'm Ken Livingston. We are helping to guide the community engagement process and also focus on bicycle and pedestrian planning side of things.
Great. Yeah, so that's all of us from the project team. As I go through, these are kind of a lot of slides that we had recently prepared for the public for the public hearing that we had late last in August. But if anybody has any questions, we'll have a time for Q&A at the end. As far as overall agenda, we'll talk about the schedule of where we're at with the project, where we started. We'll talk about specific bike ped focus, and then next steps for our project, and then we'll go through like a Q&A at the end. Okay. So overall project schedule, where we're at in the process, the NEPA-SEPA process for the national federal regulations and then the Connecticut regulations. So through the environmental review process, like I said, we had the public hearing in August, the official documents and the report were submitted, to the public, and now we're in the comment period. So we received several comments from the public of the EA-EIE report for this project. We're currently reviewing all the comments with the state and then preparing official responses to all these comments. So as we move forward, we're looking at advancing some things with preliminary design will be the next step, and then leading into final design and construction, obviously down the line. But the one thing that we wanted to kind of point out as a way, just because we were submitting for formal approval of the environmental document doesn't mean that this outreach and coordination stops. There's continuous opportunities for the outreach to continue along with this process throughout the design, the preliminary design, and then the final design stage. So how this project started and where we started and we got here. So these are just some bullet points of the project purpose that was kind of created after a long review and the in preparation for the environmental document. So the purpose of this project is improve roadway linkage between Route 7 and Route 15 at interchange 39. We kind of go into that a little bit further. Mobility for vehicles at the Route 15, Route 7 interchange, and then the main avenue interchange. So those are exits 39 and 40 on the Merritt Parkway. Improve mobility for motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists along the intermediate and adjacent local roadway network and main avenues. So that's a lot of what you're going to be seeing tonight is the proposed improvements and the enhancements and needs that we had on the local roadway network, and then improve safety in the vicinity of these interchanges. So. And then the project need for the specific kind of deficiencies, we talked about the linkages, the linkage between Route 7 and Route 15, like we said, address substandard acceleration, deceleration lanes, different things that contribute to safety throughout the corridor. And then the last one, mobility, provide local road network improvements to Main Avenue, Glover, Creeping Hemlock, improvements to bike ped and transit facilities, and then address ADA compliance issues in the project area. So these missing connections that we talked about, looking as we move left to right on the screen is the Route 15 and the Merritt Parkway, and then Route 7 is interchange 39, and then interchange 40 is Main Avenue. So currently these movements shown in red do not exist today at the Route 7, Route 15 interchange. A lot of these connections are the missing connections that we're talking about that we're trying to restore as part of the project. And then I'm going to pass it off to Emily for a little bit to talk about crash history and then safety along the corridor.
Alrighty. So you can see by the legend on the right, we looked at crashes 2015 to 2018. We looked at half-mile segments. And we did a study of the whole I-95, or the whole corridor, the whole Merritt Parkway corridor in Connecticut. And we found that the purple, which has over 300 crashes at interchange 40. That is the highest number of crashes along the entire corridor. So that definitely warrants safety improvements along our study area. And in interchange 39 has 62 crashes. So not as bad as interchange 40.
Right. So sure, it kind of points out the deficiencies that we kind of talked about that we know along a lot of those ramps at Main Avenue. And if you guys are familiar with the corridor, a lot of those existing ramps, those tight loop ramps are very deficient geometrically, which, as you can see from the crash data, is where this safety issue comes from that we're trying to improve. Just some aerials and overviews of the project location in the existing condition, Route 7 north-south, and then the Merritt Parkway through our project limits, running east to west or northbound, southbound, I guess, through our limits. And then the Main Avenue corridor with these tight loop ramps. We have Creeping Hemlock there, and then Glover Avenue to the Merritt 7 district. And so as a part of the EA study and a part of the evaluations of all the alternatives, I think we looked at between 25 and 30 alternatives to kind of address the project purpose and project need. This is it came down to two kind of alternatives that we looked at within the EA, or the two final ones that we brought to extensive review. This is alternative 21D, which provided a lot more interchange ramps and direct connections between Route 7 and Route 15. A lot of the movements that we're going to be talking, or a lot of the location that we're going to be talking about locally between the two alternatives in the local road corridor and Main Avenue, Creeping Hemlock, and Glover would be the same for both of these. Both of these proposed alternatives, excuse me. And we get to alternative 26, which is what the EA document proposes the preferred alternative. Like we said, on the local roads corridor, everything is more or less the same. But what we're doing on Route 7 is proposing 2 signalized intersections at Route 7, but so we can provide those connections directly from the Merritt to Route 7 and northbound and southbound in both directions. So what this then proposes is changing the classification of Route 7 into more of a boulevard type corridor. So that kind of covers what we looked at as our two main alternatives of the document, and then alternative 26 is the preferred alternative that we're proposing to go forward with. As far as our bicycle and pedestrian focus, I'm going to pass it off to Ken to kind of talk about what outreach we've done so far and what we're going to continue with, and then some of the specific bike ped improvements that we're proposing on the local roads. Ken? Ken, you might be muted still.
Okay.
There you go.
Now it's great to see Jim Carter here also, who brings that long institutional knowledge along with Gary and myself on this project. And as Jim will attest and some others, we've been talking about the pedestrian and bicycle amenities from the beginning on this project, understanding it's a core component of the project. You could see it within the purpose and need and project goals. So we've had numerous meetings over the course of the last 6 years with NRVT. We've met with your commission. This is our 3rd meeting. I know there's been a number of iterations of members or evolving, but we have had some communications and presentations over the years. We've also had a walking tour. I think Jim's there in the middle of the bottom picture there, along with Nancy Rosette. And we did a walking tour of Glover Avenue, Main Avenue, and all the way up to Grist Mill. And at the time, the Project Advisory Committee, this is a slide. We'll be adding Tanner to the Project Advisory Committee now, representing Norwalk Bike Ped Commission. Nancy Rosette had that role previously. So we've been doing a fair amount of research and also talking to people about the issues and concerns. So next slide. As Reed had stated, for both alternatives, it made it a little bit easier. The improvements and enhancements along Main Avenue are the same. We have the same opportunities for potential improvements and accommodation. So it was nice we weren't balancing one versus the other as far as bicycle and pedestrian conditions. So just to clarify that. So as we move down this process, we were able to really consider a wide range of alternatives for wide range of improvements for both alternatives. Next. And what are those opportunities for improvements? Well, obviously, if you're out there now and you're familiar with it, and we did receive some comments of this area, there's some substandard and conditions and sidewalk improvements, signal improvements, all types of improvements are potential here. We were looking at considering bicycle lanes, bicycle signals through the intersections, additional signage as it directly relates to bicycles. From a pedestrian standpoint, obviously, many of the sidewalks are in a bit of disrepair, so opportunities for replacement, but not only replacement, but widening of those sidewalks, potentially creating buffers between where people will be walking and the actual roadway and vehicles. Obviously, signal improvements and bus stop amenities, all to create a better environment for pedestrians and bicyclists, not only through the area, our project area, but along the area, connecting some of the businesses, and also, as importantly, connecting up to the Glover Avenue and enhanced new train station. So from there, we had a range of design options. And Reed?
Sure. So this is kind of looking at what this proposed typical would be going up north on Main Avenue. Like Ken had said, the buffered bike lanes that we're looking at, the new proposed sidewalks, certainly providing better facilities than the existing condition, as you all are very familiar with the corridor. Additional sidewalk width, this doesn't kind of capture the full limits of here, but there's also wider shared use paths throughout our project limits, additional improvements like that Ken had touched on. This is kind of just a snapshot and section of Main Avenue as a potential option that we're looking at now is for what we're proposing. And then the other section that we wanted to look at here this really provides like a good picture of that wider envelope that we have now underneath the Main Avenue Bridge. As a part of our project, we're proposing to replace the Main Avenue Bridge in order to widen underneath and provide better facilities, not just for motorists, obviously, but for pedestrian and bike facilities underneath there. As you all know, and we kind of got like a picture of the existing condition underneath, the existing pedestrian facilities, the sidewalks underneath the Main Avenue Bridge are substandard. So what we're doing here is proposing these improvements underneath the bridge to provide better connections throughout this corridor of Main Avenue. One thing that we kind of wanted to show is just the overall project limits. So just the intersection at the south at the Stop and Shop, and then the intersection of the north, just north of Creeping Hemlock along Main Avenue is where we kind of stop. On the west side on Glover Avenue, right before the railroad crossing, just east of that, going through to a new proposed intersection that kind of, as you know now, the intersections are kind of they're off-centered and they're tying in at different locations. So we're realigning Glover Avenue to tie in at one proposed intersection location. And then Creeping Hemlock is also being realigned to the north to create this signal. So north-south, we are proposing the buffered bike lanes, the additional widened sidewalks, bike ramps along these facilities. A lot of those improvements that Ken mentioned before and the opportunities are things that we're looking at now. And obviously this is just a snapshot in time of where we are with design. As we're continuing to look at further FHWA guidelines and reviewing with CONDOT, the project team, there's additional outreach with the public. This is just a progress moment of where we at, or where we're at right now with the project timeline. So as we look further, this is a blow up of that Main Avenue intersection location with Glover and Creeping Hemlock, with the additional buffered bike lanes, the bike boxes, the two-phase bike left turning, like ramps, all those types of improvements that Ken had talked about before are what we're currently looking at preliminarily with these concepts. So,
and we'll also, just to note, we'll be marrying up on Glover Avenue with the improvements CONDOT is putting in as part of the station improvement project. So continuation of the treatments will go right into the other state project on Glover Avenue as it turns the corner there.
Correct. Good point, Ken. Thank you. And then on the south side, south of the Route 15 bridge over Main Avenue, we're continuing those bike lanes and sidewalks going further south as we cross these new ramps that are intersecting with Main, and then carrying further south and then just tying into the existing typical right at our southern project limits. So as far as next steps, where we're at with the project, so like we said, we're currently reviewing public comments that we received on the EAE document. Going forward, once we once we prepare responses to the comments, we'll have confirmation of the preferred alternative that we're going with that we presented. And then as we advance into design, we're currently looking at the preliminary design phase next, final design, and then the permitting process will continue with the project. And like we said, we'll have continued public outreach process throughout, and then continued coordination with the PAC. That kind of wraps up kind of the overview of where we're at within the project, the latest updates and everything, and the history as well. So we just wanted to open it up to questions. Anyone have anything specific or anything they want to call out?
First of all, thanks everybody. Is my audio coming through again? I switched it up a little bit.
Yes, we can hear you, Tanner. Yeah.
And your name, even though it's listed as Ken Livingston, is Reed, right?
Yeah, sorry, Reed Cheng. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for your presentation. I imagine that many commissioners have questions and feedback and input. I imagine many members of the public do as well. I just want to point out that on the agenda, we do have public comment immediately following the time that we have with the consultants. If possible, if the team or members of the project team could stick around for the public comment and we can prioritize public comment that has to do with this project, that would be ideal. But for now, let's start with comment from commissioners. So do we have any commissioners that have questions or comments? I guess I can jump right in. I don't. Oh, Christine's got her hand up.
Well, I mean, I think this is amazing, and there's no point in asking a question like this, but to me, that statistic, that crash statistics, and being a driver down there, it's a little surprising that it's taken, I don't know what it took, really, maybe Jim Carter to get this going here, but it's a little astounding that is like such a dangerous area coming off the Merritt Parkway. And also the pedestrians, like I've seen very close calls, people walking under the bridge, trying to get to the grocery store. So this is amazing. And I'm sorry if I wasn't listening. I did not hear when the completion date, if there is one. That's it.
Sorry, Christine. As far as timeline, we're anticipating wrapping up the design process in 2025. And then that's when it would go to advertisement. These are all tentative dates and fluid as we go forward, but that's the overall timeline as far as the project timeline and schedule goes. That would be when construction will begin after advertisement sometime around then. And if DOT has anything other to add on the schedule or anything more specific, but that's currently the project timeline that we're going forward now.
Yeah, this is Neil Patel with DOT. It's scheduled for start of construction in 2026. That's pending, receipt of all permitting, any right of way, and then funding. But right now, the funding is programmed for this project.
Thanks for that detail, and thanks, Christine, for the question. I want to jump in. I have a few questions. And some of these may not be questions that we have time to get into tonight. We've allocated 20 minutes for the team. And I think we're already at about 20 minutes. It's 6:30. So I guess I do just want to do a time check with the project team. Do any of you have a hard stop? Like when do we want to wrap up? Or do we need to wrap up now?
I personally, I'm okay to continue. Whatever, if anyone else has any hard stops, obviously reach out, but I think we're okay to continue to discuss.
Okay, cool. So I've got 3 topics, and I'll just summarize all 3, and we can maybe prioritize the ones that we can get to tonight. Number 1 is what a lot of people talked about during the hearing, which is whether the scope of the project can be changed to include the Norwalk River Valley Trail on the west side. I understand, like I mentioned in the hearing, that that's not part of the initial scope of the project, but it seems like an obvious mistake to have not included it in the scope of the project. So that's number 1, the NRVT on the west side. Number 2 is the concepts that you showed a couple slides ago. Reed, if you wouldn't mind actually bringing those back up, of Main Ave going under the Merritt Parkway. It should go without saying, but I'll say it, that I think I speak on behalf of the commission, are very glad that bicycles and pedestrians are being included in this project, that we're getting explicit space carved out for bicycles and for pedestrians. I'd like to dig in more, and perhaps outside of this meeting, on the design here. It sounds like it's still somewhat preliminary and subject to change, but there's lots of little details that I'd like to see us get right. The one that jumps out to me most obviously is where we have a cross section that has a buffered bike lane, and we've got a sidewalk, and then some amenity strip between the sidewalk and the bike lane, and then a buffer between the bike lane and the car lane. If the project is going to involve pouring curbs, moving curbs anyway, it seems like a slam dunk to put the bike lane up at the level of the sidewalk, because you don't need near as much of a buffer between the sidewalk and the bike lane as you might between a bike lane and a car lane, because the difference just isn't as great in terms of danger. So if I think having the same cross section, even maybe a narrower cross section, you could fit all the same stuff in and also provide more protection for cyclists if you just raise them up to the level of the sidewalk above the curb instead of below the curb. Obviously, that has implications at the intersection because the intersection has to be configured a little bit differently, but it makes a world of difference. It's not something that we have yet done in Norwalk, but it's something that we've been asking for in Norwalk, and it's something that we've seen in other cities, even here in Connecticut, like in New Haven, they've started doing that. So that's number two, just like the details of the main Ave cross sections and intersections. And then item 3 was something that was also brought up at the hearing a few weeks ago, and that is the intersection of Route 7 with the Merritt on-ramps and off-ramps. Currently, those are slated for signalized intersections. A couple people brought up the idea of roundabouts. I know that roundabouts have pros and cons. They may not be able to handle the traffic volume that a signalized intersection can, but I was wondering if you could comment on that tonight. So those are my 3.
Sure. Thank you, Tanner. So I guess starting out, the first comment on the NRVT, and yes, we received a lot of comments about that within the public comment period. And the one thing that we do want to point out is that with that coordination with the NRVT is still ongoing. So like Ken had said before, they've been a part of this coordination process and outreach. And one thing that we do want to note is that no matter what alternative, it does not preclude for any future improvement for the trail and for the NRVT. So the ramps that we're proposing there, the intent is to design them without, we're not shutting off the option to include the design for that trail in the future. But we currently, the state is coordinating and has requested NRVT's recent feasibility study. So we want to obviously take those findings into account and just continue that ongoing coordination. I don't know, Neil or anyone from the state, does anyone have anything else to add?
Yeah, just to add, to the history of the project and where it started, right? And that purpose and need, and it goes back to the federal process and the purpose and need of completing the linkage and the safety and all that. And so it's not that it's excluded, right? And that's something that we want to make sure that as we go forward with the design, that we take a look at what are those options. As Reed said, neither alternative for Route 7 precludes a future trail underneath the Merritt Parkway there. And then in terms of how it crosses over, those are the things that we want to take a look at. And I think that's why we want to kind of take a look at NRVT's feasibility study that they did and, start that coordination and dig into it a little bit deeper.
If I might offer an NRVT comment.
Go ahead, Jim. Sure. For those who don't know, Jim is on the board of the NRVT. Go ahead, Jim.
I guess to just for the record, kind of read in the process of dialogue that's started and is ongoing between the NRVT and the project team. So we did submit a formal notice of concerns, I guess I will call it. And the DOT has recognized that and reached back to us, and as several have commented, requested the preliminary feasibility study that we did of putting a trail through the interchange as it's currently scoped. So I wanted to recognize that they have responded to us, and we're pulling that together with our consultants, and we'll respond back to them. We had a key player out of the office, and they're back in place. And so I anticipate that we will make that formal response this week. But it's an ongoing dialogue. I appreciate the DOT's hearing and responding to us, and we look forward to a positive dialogue.
Thanks, Jim. It seems like things are moving in that dimension, and I'm encouraged by that. So thanks for the update, from both sides. I'm going to turn the time back to the project team for the second or third item, main Ave, bike ped facilities, and/or roundabouts on Route 7.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you again, Jim, for chiming in and giving us that update. We appreciate that. So talking about the raised bike lane alternative that you mentioned, Tanner. Yes, certainly this is an option that we're looking at. You brought up a good point, that obviously is one of the, not a concern we have, but one of the challenges with that is those transitions back down to the intersection. Yeah. So we are limited by the distance between the intersections for that, but it's certainly something that we're looking into. Obviously, we said before, this is the concepts that we have right now or that we have shared or shown are preliminary, and we continue to look at different options along here. But certainly, thank you for raising that option. I don't know, Ken, did you have anything else to add from like a bike ped standpoint about that?
No, we basically do have a concept of that under consideration on the west side to get across sort of and around the intersections of people heading, well, on the west side, I guess. Yep. I'm trying to figure out the easiest way. But there's a ramp where bicyclists who are less comfort level can get onto, basically you consider it a shared pathway sidewalk.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Bypass traffic.
Southeast corner of the intersection, is that right?
Yep, yeah, and have some a little bit better of view and viewing of the cyclists. So we're giving basically two options in certain areas for the bicyclists that feel a bit more comfortable continuing on, on the road. There's that option, but we are putting accommodations as much as we can for some ramps to allow the cyclists to access that sidewalk. So not a formal full shifting of the curb, but we are trying to utilize both ideas and concepts. Yep. At least considering them right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Ken. And then the last comment you had, Tanner, was about roundabouts. So as I mentioned, we did look at I guess 25 to 30 different alternatives, and one of the alternatives that was in the EA did include those roundabouts at Route 7, like you said. And I'll pass it off to Emily to kind of talk about that analysis and where what we got from that analysis. Emily?
Thank you, Reed. And thank you, Tanner, for the question. I remember I remember the questions from the public hearing a month ago, and you kind of alluded to this, Tanner, but it is a matter of the significant peak hour demand that will be in the future. The number of vehicles that will pass through the roundabout are nearly double above the threshold that is recommended by the Connecticut DOT Highway Design Manual. So that leads to level of service F operation. So the volume is much higher than the roundabout capacity can accommodate, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Thanks for that report. And just to translate for the lay people here, level of service S means lots and lots of backups, right? It means congestion.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Reed.
No, that was sorry. Level of service clarification.
And I'll just add though, Tanner, you asked about on Route 7, but we also did look at roundabouts right at Glover Avenue, and that was even more of an issue from sizing and spacing. But Emily can add on to that. But we even looked at that one as a roundabout option.
That's a safety issue as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the high number of pedestrians and cyclists.
Hey,
Gotcha.
Tanner and the project team,
ahead.
I just want to hop in real quick. I know there, we have a lot of questions for the project team, and I understand, people want to ask questions, but there are other public comment periods as well. We have a lot of other items on the agenda, and it's already, almost 6:45. So, I know we all want to ask questions to the project team while they're here, but I know there'll be other opportunities to ask questions from the public as well.
Totally. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Greg. I just wanted to ensure that we take advantage of the fact that everybody's gathered here right now. I don't want to gather here and then not ask the important questions while we're here.
I understand, but there's plenty of other opportunities. So I just, I know we can talk about this till midnight. That's the thing. So
I have no intention.
I want to keep track of time here for the consultants and especially for the commission, who we have other items to talk to about as well tonight.
Yep, I understand. Before we let the project team go, I do want to include one more comment, and that's from Ben Handpeter. Ben was at the hearing and I think asked about the roundabouts. Ben, do you have something unique to add before we let the project team go?
Not about the roundabouts. I was just interested to see the preliminary plans, and it looks like there's a lot of extra lanes being added under the bridge and around the intersections. And I was going to sort of question the need for all those additional lanes, given that part of the scope of the project is getting traffic off of Main Ave. And it seems to work out okay with 2 lanes today. But I know we don't have time to get into a detailed discussion of that right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm looking at the map. I see 2 lanes in each direction going under the Merritt, for example, today. Are there more than that? Reed, do you mind going back to the slide that has the schematic on it?
Sure. The one thing that we did want to point out is just looking at this. Let me see. This is the section underneath the Main Ave. So with introductions to those signals where those ramps come in, obviously where the tight loop ramps that we had at that interchange, the Main Avenue interchange, because those covered both directions, there were loop ramps for both directions, northbound and southbound. Now removing them and combining them and tying them into the signals. We're looking at, we're continuing to look at the design of those signals and looking at ways that we can optimize that. So preliminarily, looking at the amount of traffic that was happening with combining those ramps is what we're looking at right now. So with the signal design, as that progresses further, we'll continue to look at ways that we can optimize that. Sorry, just a brief response, but Emily, anything to add from like a traffic standpoint, I guess?
No, you covered it well.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Reed.
So is it fair to summarize by saying that the reason that we've got 6 lanes here has a lot to do with the fact that we're in the middle of an interchange right there, and that currently the interchange is kind of poorly designed, and that these extra lanes are not as much for traffic throughput on Main Ave as much as to make the interchange work better?
Correct. Yeah, the interchange ramps and then the how they enter both of those directions are now being modified with these movements. So.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for the clarity on that. It was pointed out to me that we have in the Q&A on Zoom, we have a question. I think it's a pretty short answer. The question is from the City Hall Neighborhood Association. Will this project be coordinated with the Exit 16 interchange project? My guess is that that's a no, because the project areas don't overlap at all. But if there's something else to say there, then go ahead.
Well, Exit 16 interchange project is further out, if that's the same one we're talking about.
Yeah, Exit 16 on 995 in East Norwalk.
East Avenue, yeah. That one, from my understanding, is a lot further out in terms of schedule, but we do coordinate. There's multiple projects going on in Norwalk, and so that's part of our process, is coordinating with all of them and making sure that they're not, if they are in construction at the same time, that they're not impacting each other in terms of some of the traffic operations.
Gotcha. Okay, I think we're going to hear more about East Avenue from TMP later this meeting. So with that, I will thank the project team for sticking around until 6:45. Appreciate the answers to your questions, and I look forward to working in more detail on East Avenue. If there's a method through which we can collaborate on those details, like I said, for pedestrian and bike facilities on Main Avenue. Maybe that's through Ken with FHI. If there's a more effective or more efficient medium than this commission meeting, I'd be happy to engage that way. So Ken, let's connect maybe on that offline.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. Greg, anything to add before we let the project team go? Are we good?
No, I think they're good. Thank you for coming on.
No, certainly. I just want to say thank you guys again for the opportunity to give the project update. And like we said, this coordination is ongoing, and we look forward to continuing to talk as the project progresses.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
So, bye-bye.
Alrighty. Thanks, Greg, for keeping us on task. I'm gonna just quick go over the agenda for the rest of us who are still left here. We've got public comment. We've got an item about the Bike Friendly Community Survey. Greg's given us 20 minutes to discuss it. I don't think we'll need all those 20 minutes. This is mostly an update, not as much a discussion, although it might be a little discussion. There's the bit about East Avenue from TMP that we got 10 minutes for. There's a bit about the Complete Streets Public Workshop from Greg. There's a bit about bike rack purchasing. I think Nick has an update there. Got an item about the budget, specifically about bathrooms on the NRVT, and then we got approving meeting minutes. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to public comment. So if you're a member of the public and you'd like to comment, please put your hand up. As is tradition, I'm going to open it up first to people who haven't been to this meeting before. If there's anybody, I don't immediately. I don't know. I think I see one person who I think hasn't been here before. So if that's you and you want to comment, please put your hand up. Otherwise, I'll take comment from anybody else. I do want to give a special invite to comment to Manny Salgado, who I think has attended our meetings before, but is our newest commissioner. Manny, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Manny Salgado. I am newest addition to the Bike Walk Commission. I live in East Norwalk. I've been living in Norwalk for about a year now. And so I'm excited to just be a part of this group and participate in the best way possible. So thank you once again for the opportunity to be here.
Well, thanks, Manny, for taking on the call to serve on the commission. A couple more details I'll give about Manny. I've had some good conversations with Manny. In particular, I've talked to Manny about helping out on the Bike Walk Commission, specifically when it comes to bike education and our relationship with the public schools and with school children. Manny, if I'm not wrong, you do have a daughter who's about to be school aged. Is that right?
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old daughter. And I also work in Greenwich at an after-school program doing social work. And so at 3 elementary schools, so I kind of am in the elementary school world.
Awesome. Thanks, Manny. Last thing I'll add is that Manny brings experience living in places as diverse as the Los Angeles metro area and also South Texas. So I hope that Manny can bring insights from those places, insights from his experience doing social work, being a parent, and help us in particular to serve the needs of the children in our community through biking and walking. So thanks, Manny. Awesome. Any other comment from the public? Alrighty. Let's keep rolling then. The next item on the agenda is the Bike Friendly Communities Survey. We brought this up at the meeting last month, and to recap for those who weren't here, we applied for an award called Bicycle Friendly Communities, which is administered by the League of American Bicyclists. And as part of the process for receiving the award, they've sent us a survey for everybody who bikes in Norwalk or has thought about biking in Norwalk to fill out. I emailed the administrator of the survey and asked how many responses we've gotten. And this was as of, I think, 4 or 5 days ago. We had 43 responses, which I was pleased with, but I think that we can still get a lot more. I'm also happy to report that Councilmember Burnett, the president of the Common Council, announced this milestone that we've hit at the Common Council meeting, not the previous one, but one before that, and invited the public to fill out the survey. Also pleased to report that if you go to our link tree, so if you go to Bike Norwalk or walknorwalk.org, you'll see the link to the survey at the very top of the page. So if you want to share the survey with other people, that's probably the easiest way to do that. Just ask them to go to bikenorwalk.org, and it's right there. Christine, do you have any updates?
No, just the flyer I sent earlier. And I just really hope every single person on this call tonight will complete this survey by the deadline, which I believe it's October 10th. Please, it's very, very, very important because you have knowledge of our work. So, and that's fantastic that we have 43. So that's it, just a plug.
So it was suggested that maybe we take some time during the commission meeting for everybody to fill it out. I don't know if that's the best use of our time, but I will go as far as to show everybody exactly what it looks like, so you have a good idea of what you're getting into. It should take 5 or 10 minutes, or if you have particular knowledge and you want to contribute a lot to the survey, it might take 15 minutes. So this is bikenorwalk.org. This is the very first link right here. And this is what the survey looks like. You pick Connecticut. And then you pick Norwalk. These are, I think these are the 3 communities that applied this year in Connecticut, and Norwalk is one of them. And then you start providing information about your connection to the community and your connection to cycling and how much you cycle and where you tend to cycle, what places are conducive to cycling, what places are not, etc. So I want to repeat what Christine said. I will invite everybody who's on this call to please fill out this survey. Even if you haven't been on a bike in a while, even if you haven't been on a bike ever in Norwalk, if you care about cycling in Norwalk and you have any opinions whatsoever, even if that opinion is just that we ought to do a little bit more to make cycling safe and convenient in Norwalk, please do fill out the survey. Not only does it show that we have good engagement in our community, also any feedback that you do give gets aggregated up so that the league can do the best job possible of giving us feedback about how we can improve. Also, I would invite you all to share it. Like I said, the easiest way to share it is just to tell your friends, bikenorwalk.org. It's the first link there. Christine did, as she alluded to, Christine found a volunteer to make a flyer for us, which she just sent over to me today. Emily, you're on the call, right?
Yeah,
you with us? Hi, Emily. Emily, I think, is recovering from illness. Are you feeling any better, Emily? Would you be able to throw that on social for us?
Sorry. Yeah, what do you need?
Christine has finished putting together a flyer for the Bike Friendly Communities survey. Would you be able to put that on social media for us?
Definitely, yeah. On our Bike Walk account.
Yeah. Christine, I think you CC'd Emily on that, right?
I did, and I plan to get it out myself, maybe Nancy on Norwalk and a few other places, including the Smart Cycle.
Perfect. Yeah, I can definitely share it on social and email too. We can email our listserv, right?
Yes, that would be great. Okay, thank you, Emily. I think that's all we need to cover for the survey. Does anybody have questions about the survey or ideas for how we can disseminate that we haven't already gotten to? Alrighty. Just one more time, please, everybody fill out the survey. Next item on the agenda is East Avenue, and this is Greg from TMP. So Greg, what have you got?
All right, so I just wanted to update everybody. So this is the corridor study. So this is from Route 1 up to the exit 16 interchange. So it doesn't include obviously that portion of the 95 portion, and then even going further south on East Avenue towards 136. So this is kind of the northerly section from exit 16 from like Hendricks all the way up to Route 1. So this is about that section. Obviously last year, as part of the capital budget request, TMP did request some money for a corridor study for this section. We received a portion of the requested funding for the corridor study. So the percentage of the funds, are going to be for kind of preliminary work at this point. The first thing is kind of understanding the right of way in which we have, to work within, kind of establish a base map for us, just to know what the limits of the project can be, from especially expanding out from the roadway out, to the sidewalk and to private residences and private property. So that's going to be kind of the first thing that gets done as part of this. We're finalizing right now a contract where we received bids for a non-qual surveyor, which we're reviewing at this moment right now. So once that's kind of established and our selections made, then we can start a process for going forward, collecting survey and getting those limits, expanding outward from the project area. But just keep in mind from a resource allocation, we're still performing design and construction of Wall Street, which has been in the works now for a few years. We have full funding, pretty much almost full funding, I should say. We've gotten a lot of money towards that. East Wall Street is set to, for construction beginning early next year. We're in design for the rest of the Wall Street corridor right now. Seaview Avenue, we're in finalizing concept design right now. We had the 2 public meetings, obviously. We have a commitment to the community for roundabout at, Gregory at 5th. So we can't forget about these projects that we've kind of already begun to design and plan for over the next handful of years. So we're still working to, on those projects as well. So we don't have like a timeline as far as East Avenue corridor is concerned right now, but, we'll be establishing, first thing is getting that kind of that survey base map for us, just to kind of start beginning the the project limits. But just keep in mind, we do have a lot of other major projects that we are currently in the process of working on top of all the smaller projects as well, that are currently in the works also. So just keep that in mind moving forward.
Of course.
I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, Greg, just to make sure that we are understanding what you've said so far. First of all, I think you would have to have not attended any BIPOC Commission meeting before to not know that TMB has lots on their plate. So we totally understand that. And we are appreciative of all the good work you guys are doing in different places around the city. To make sure that we are just on the same page about the sequencing of this work. You're saying the very first thing that needs to be done is that the whole corridor needs to be surveyed. And you said something about putting that out to bid.
So we put a bid out for an on-call surveyor that that TMP and DPW between the two departments can use for survey.
Gotcha. So that's not unique to this project. That's a surveyor that you use for all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, for all sorts of stuff. Yes, but we would we can use that as kind of use that to establish a survey as part of this, because surveys aren't cheap, and we're talking about I don't know how many properties along that stretch of roadway, getting every utility, every curb line, every underground utility at that, not only above ground. So surveys are obviously very important to establish not only your limits and your boundaries, but also what you have under the ground and above ground as well, as far as above ground electric utilities, and then underground gas, water, sewer, all that good stuff. So that's kind of a vital first step in creating that base map before we even start drawing any lines on a piece of paper, as well as also engaging the community. So this is kind of the first step towards that. Similar to what we did for Wall Street, similar to what we did for Seaview. I mean, those all started with a survey.
Yeah,
you had to know what we were working with.
Makes total sense. So that on-call surveying contract is still out to bid. Is that right?
So it just recently closed. We're in the bid analysis process right now.
Gotcha.
So
are there any dates on that project that have been nailed down?
There's no timelines or anything. That's why as far as East Avenue, we don't have any timelines as far as when that's going to start or when this is going to close. We still have to do the bid analysis. We still have to go through all the qualifications for all the vendors that submitted for the survey. So we have to go through all that analysis and to make sure they qualify through all the specifications that we had outlined in the scope and what they can provide. And then we'll make a selection process. So it's going to be some time before that is established, and then, final contract and all the legal and other documentation. So it's going to be some time.
Okay. Next question. Once the on-call surveyor contract is nailed down and we have an on-call surveyor, is there a backlog of surveying projects that are going to need to be done? And how far up in that backlog is East Avenue?
We do. I mean, especially this one, it's a large corridor. There's a lot that's going to have to be done. So, we haven't really discussed which is going to be the first thing that's scoped, because again, we have all these other projects that are ongoing with design right now. We're not just going to drop all these other projects and say, oh, we have to do East Avenue first. So we haven't prioritized any projects as of yet. We're just working to get the bid analysis done for the survey, and then, look to see, once that's our first step right there. So we're not looking 2 steps ahead here.
Yeah. Okay. So from what I understand, you've got to procure the on-call surveying contract, and then you've got to work through probably some projects for that surveyor before you get to East Avenue. And
also keep in mind too, Tanner, one other thing, we only got partial funding for the corridor study. So we didn't get fully funded what we were asking.
Yep.
So, if we want a comprehensive study done, we have to, hopefully get more funding next year. And, so we're going to try to do as much as we can right now to lay the preliminary groundwork here before we, go after the ultimate corridor study here.
Yeah, I think a lot of us understand that. What I'm attempting to do right now is to understand the details well enough so that people who otherwise would just be asking, when's it going to get done? When's it going to get done? When's it going to get done? Can understand the complexities that keep us from getting it done tomorrow, so that we can have the right conversations as opposed to unproductive conversations.
Right.
So that leads me to the next question, which is, once the surveying gets done, that I understand that has a lot of dependencies that haven't yet been met. But once we get to that point, is the next step to obtain a consultant to do the study and design, or like how much does that get broken up?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point. We're going to see what we have as far as funding once the survey is complete, because obviously the funding, is going to cost some funds as well. So it may come out of that pot of money, but we haven't gotten to that point yet to decide. So that's why we're working. We don't have a timeline going forward. But
Greg, I'm not asking about
put out the bid for a consultant at some point, but I can't tell you when.
I'm not asking for a timeline, Greg. I'm not asking for dates. I'm asking to understand the sequencing. What are the steps? What has to happen to get there?
Yeah, so we'll have to go out to bid for a corridor study, get a consultant on board who will handle all the design, who will handle the conceptual public meetings, same as we did for Seaview, same as we did for Wall Street, get the community's input, do data collection. So yes, we'll go out and get a consultant to do the majority of the corridor study, and have concepts and final design plans will be included in that as well.
So another thing you mentioned is that the amount of money that has been awarded so far out of the capital budget obviously is not everything that you asked for, and it's not enough to complete the project. Do you have a rough idea of how far it does get us? Does it get us anything more than the surveying?
I can't answer that because I haven't, that's thinking too far ahead, Tanner. That's thinking waits. I haven't looked at figures. I haven't looked at that, so I can't answer that question.
Can you say whether the surveyor gets paid out of that 300,000 or out of a different pot?
Tanner, we haven't talked about that yet, Tanner. You're asking way too many in-depth questions.
Well, I'm trying to respect.
I understand you want to know. I understand you want to know what step 4 and 5 are, but it's not questions you need to be included. We're figuring that out right now. Okay. We're just fine. We just got bids and qualifications back from on-call surveyors. That's all we got right now.
Well, I understand that, but I don't feel like it's too much of an expectation from TMP to understand how these projects tend to work and what the sequencing is.
I'm explaining that to you, but you're asking me, where does this money come from? Where does that money come from? Who's paying for it? Like, you don't need to worry about that.
Well, respectfully, one thing that we can help with as citizens is that when there are budget needs that can be advocated for, we can advocate for them. And we can only do that to the extent that we understand the dynamics.
Right. But we don't even know how much the survey is going to cost for the whole thing. We don't have those figures. So I don't even know if we're going to need money, and I don't know how much more we're going to need. I'm just giving you an update where we're at with East Avenue, where we're at with an on-call. We don't have any schedule for the East Avenue corridor right now. We're just trying to get the survey on-call on board first, and then we're going to look to establish our survey and get how much it's going to cost out of that. And we probably will have to pull from the East Avenue corridor money to pay for the survey. Yes, we probably will.
Okay.
But the Bike Walk Commission, that's not, we haven't figured that out yet internally yet. So that doesn't need to be decided right here, right now.
I agree with you. It doesn't need to be decided right here, right now. The reason that I'm bringing this up in the Bike Walk Commission is because to some extent, we represent the community, and we represent the community's concerns about biking and walking. And a huge concern of the community about biking and walking is East Avenue, because the experience is unsafe and it's poor. And so we're not trying to be combative. We're not trying to ask you for things that you can't provide, but we are trying to understand the dynamics well enough so that we can be part of the solution.
I understand that, but all I'm saying now is we don't even know what limits we're working in.
Okay, well, we look forward to understanding the limits better as soon as you do.
Yes.
Great. I yield my time on this. Are there any other commissioners that have questions about the East Avenue project? Are there any members of the public that have questions about the East Avenue project? Alrighty. Greg, thank you for the details that you're able to provide. We look forward, like I said, to learning more as more is knowable. Next on the agenda is complete streets. Greg, do you want to do this one?
Yeah. So last week we had the TMP team and FHS Studios. We conducted the public workshop as part of the Complete Streets implementation process. We also did a presentation, where members of the public were able to learn a little more about Complete Streets and participate in the workshop as well, and provide recommendations along the MLK Drive corridor and West Avenue, Belden Avenue corridor. If you weren't able to attend, no big deal. We have an online survey on the TMP website, on the Complete Streets webpage, that you're able to go on there and do a similar workshop that members that were in person were able to do. The presentation is also available online as well, so you can take a look at that. But the survey will be something similar: MLK Drive, West Avenue, Belden Avenue. You can go through and provide, what you see, the corridor, and, provide your feedback and your input on what you would like it to look like. And, we obviously encourage everybody to take part in it, and, obviously to spread the word out to as many people as possible. This is going to be live throughout the entirety of the month of October, and it's going to close on November 1st. So a lot of time for you all to go on and fill out for both corridors, and, kind of take part in that. The in-person workshop, it was nice because we kind of had these small, kind of intimate groups with a lot of group discussion, between 6 or 8 people, kind of hear different angles, and, just going around and listening to the discussions. It was a good conversation between all the members of the public. So it was good to kind of see that. So, but something similar here online that you all are able to take part in if you weren't able to attend.
Thanks, Greg. I do want to point out that the survey is available at the same link as the other survey. Again, bikenorwalk.org or walknorwalk.org. They both go here. Here's the Bike Friendly Community Survey. Here's the Norwalk Complete Street Survey that Greg was just alluding to. And if you go there, looks like this, and you can provide detailed input on West Avenue, Belden Avenue, and on MLK. I want to say that I was particularly impressed by the survey. This is not only fun to do, fun to complete the survey, but also allowed for a lot of granularity, and was encouraging to me in terms of what the project's going to be about and what kind of detail the project team and TMP is going to take into account when redesigning streets like these two. So kudos to TMP. Thank you. Christine, was your hand up?
Sorry, Tanner. I rethought it. I don't want to be nitpicky because this is fantastic that these surveys are on our webpage and they're so detailed and helpful. But I wonder if there's a tiny little spot to put the deadline for them just to get people's attention to do it. But that's just nitpicking. I don't think it's a good idea.
Is it not on the website?
It's not on our website. I can add it to our website. It's probably on the Complete Streets project webpage. But since I'm directing people to the Bike Walk Commission's link tree, I think Christine's point is that we can put it there, and we absolutely can, and I will take that as an action item. But here, let's see, Complete Streets. Participate in our online survey by October 19th. Is that the same date?
We have to change that. Yeah, we extended it to November 1st, so we will we'll change that.
Great. And here's the link to the presentation that you just alluded to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep. And then there's the boards that were up as well during the meeting. And awesome. the demonstration project will be in April 2024. So we can talk about it throughout the winter time, but we definitely want to gather as much volunteers, and obviously the Bike Walk Commission, we'd like to have major drivers as that to gather as many people as possible.
Yeah, +1 to all of that. So my invite for everybody is to please fill out that survey as well. So you got two assignments, fill out both surveys. Any questions about the Complete Streets project, about the public meeting that was on Thursday, or any adjacent items? Greg, one last question for you. Do we have an estimated, I know I'm asking about timelines, and I know that there's not always an answer. So, but in case there is an answer, do you have any sort of estimated timeline for when the draft of the actual design guide will be ready?
So it's supposed to be worked on throughout the fall, winter time. So I'm pretty sure by midwinter, so like February, March, we should have a draft at least. By then, because we're supposed to be wrapping up in the springtime, that's when we're going to be doing the demonstration project. So we should have a preliminary draft around that time. So we'll keep you posted as we kind of progress through the late fall, early winter time, and keep you posted on that.
Great. From my perspective, that's the next big milestone. Is there another big milestone between now and then that I'm missing?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, the design guide, the ordinance is another big thing that we're currently in the process of putting together right now, along with the consultant. For
think that will come before the guide, the design guide.
Some point over the next few months, So I mean, everything's planning on wrapping up in the springtime. So we're already into October. So over the next 5 months or so, everything all those will be will be important to be completed.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the detail. Any last thoughts on Complete Streets before we move on? Alrighty. Next item is bike rack purchasing. I asked Greg to put this on the agenda. I'll give a quick little bit of context. Bike Walk Commission and TMP have been working together for a while on bike racks. As probably most of you know, TMP has put lots of good-looking artistic bike racks around town. In addition to some more functional bike racks, including the ones that went in at the South Norwalk train station garage. I put this on the agenda because a while ago, after the bike share, the initial bike share project fell apart back in 2018 or 2019, we salvaged some of the locations that we picked out for those bike share stations as municipal bike parking. One of those was at the Main Street lot. I think it's called the Main Street lot, just north of
Main Street lot,
of Wall Street. And I was there the other day and actually was looking for a place to park my bike. And Nick was with me actually. And we were looking for places to park our bikes. And I was hoping that rack had gone in, but it has not gone in. I remember talking about it at this point, like multiple years ago. So I wanted to put it back on the agenda, not only to ask about the Main Street lot, but also the bike rack purchasing project at large. So go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. That one has been outstanding for a few years now, and it was set to one to be put in there. So last year we kind of dedicated those funds. We bought some artistic racks that we put out, to Catholic Half Bachelor Beach, the Whistle in Whistleville, and then Sailboat in Rowayton. So now that we're in the the new fiscal year since July 1 now, we'll put together a package to get some more bike racks, and that will be on our list to make sure that that's purchased and installed over there as well. With just the hoop style racks, it's already got a concrete platform, so easy install. Yeah. So we'll get on some of those quick hitter ones and get kind of the hoop style with the bookends of the logo Bike Norwalk at the end as well. So we'll look to move that forward, over the next few months.
I think that'll be an attractive setup, a good blend of cost effectiveness and practicality and attractiveness to have, a bank of hoop racks with the logo on each end. And it's something we've been discussing for a while, and I think that we haven't actually done it anywhere yet. If we have, I don't.
We have not. The good thing is we already have the logo spec'd out. The designer, for our two vendors that we normally use, they've both given us sketches of it and and quotes for how much they would cost about. So it's not we won't need a lot of back and forth with them. We can pretty much say we want a quantity of this and a quantity of that, and we want to move forward with this many. So send us a updated quote and we can move forward with it.
Great. Would it be too much to ask for you or TMP to come to our next meeting with the short list of sites where you're going to include on the next round of purchasing?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can put that together. Yeah.
Great. I look forward to that. Christine.
Just a reminder about the one that needs to get replaced at City Hall. That would be nice to have a pretty one there.
So we
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna say we've thrown around some artistic ones and some other ones as well. We understand that there's some at City. There's the rack at City Hall is not to the best of standard or aesthetic value. So we definitely want to upgrade that one. So it just depends on where we want to kind of prioritize that one. We do have some other locations as well that I know, Tanner, the list that you and Ben put together last year had on there, some high priority ones. So, we'll keep the City Hall one in consideration as well.
Awesome. I know it's been part of the conversation before that there's kind of a trade-off between taking the new racks and placing them in locations with existing but crappy racks versus taking them and putting them in locations with no racks at all. And there's a good argument to be made that we get more value out of putting them in places where there's no rack at all, given that we have limited resources in terms of racks. If we had unlimited racks and the constraint was in like places to put them, then I agree that upgrading the old, less functional racks would be the clear strategy. But given that we have lots and lots of spots with no racks at all, I think that what TMP has told us before is that they were going to prioritize places with no racks. Would I love to see nice, like proper functional racks at City Hall? Absolutely. But I'll let TMP make that call and bring us the prioritized list, the short list next month. Does that sound good, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Last item about bike racks. I had a conversation with, it was over email with, I think, Jim. And I think Judd was on the email. It was about the parking garages, in particular that in South Norwalk Garage, we have the nice new racks, and we also have the old schoolyard style rack at the far end of the garage. But that at Yankee Doodle Garage, we have no racks at all. And we were wondering if, as a stopgap measure, before we actually like invest more money into Yankee Doodle Garage, if somebody from the parking authority from TMP with a pickup truck could take the old rack that's in the South Norwalk Garage and move it to the Yankee Doodle Garage as a stopgap. Is this on your radar, Greg? Judd actually maybe has an update. Go ahead, Judd.
Hi, Tanner. So we have a new assistant director of parking,
yes.
Brian. I think, did you meet with him?
I have not. I don't even know his last name.
Anyway, I'll talk to him about it. Maybe that's a logical place to start because I believe when all the new racks went in at South Norwalk, the then assistant director of parking handled most of that. So
yeah,
I'll put it on my list and I'll talk to him about it for you.
Yeah,
awesome.
and we've had some discussions as well, Judd. I mean, you could still talk to Brian as well, but we had some talks about the overflow ones from South Norwalk that aren't needed anymore to move over to to Yankee Doodle as well. Until the garage is redone for the time being, and scope out some spots.
Yeah, I think if we just get Jim's okay on it, it's probably something, Laz could help with too, moving that over there. So I'll work on it.
Thanks, Judd.
Yep.
Alrighty. Any last contributions, thoughts, concerns, feedback about bike parking? Alrighty, moving on to our last agenda item. We've got the commission. Wait, did we skip one? No, I don't think we did.
You're good.
I hallucinated an agenda item about bike valet parking. I think when I saw bike rack purchasing, I thought of both. So I'm going to give time quick to Nick Pappas. Nick, at the last meeting, we voted to spend some money on bike valet parking, in particular event racks for bike valet. Nick's assembled some quotes. Nick, I noticed you CC'd me on a couple of quotes. Do we have any progress from last time? Do you want to report on?
That's about all the progress has been. Got 2 quotes, and from what I remember from last meeting, because the spending is under, I believe it was 5,000. 2 quotes is all that's necessary to proceed with the purchase requisition. Should those be okay, then I think we can proceed with purchase requisition. But please let me know if the case is otherwise, Greg.
Yeah, no, I mean, as long as the commission, everyone signed up for it.
Yeah, we voted on it last month.
Yeah, then we'll move forward with it.
Awesome. Thanks. I think, Nick, the second quote ended up coming in under the first one, right? It was like 600 some?
Yeah, there was a pretty significant difference in the two.
Nice. Well, then that was a good find. I look forward, Greg, to hearing the purchasing goes through. One other remark, this is mostly for Nick, but for everyone else's context, I was at the Sono Half Marathon on Sunday, one of the events that we talked before about providing bike valet parking for, and I was able to meet the race organizer, like the race director, and I have her info written down. I pitched her the idea, and she thinks that it's a great idea, and told me to text her a few days after the race, once she has a little bit more bandwidth. So at that point, I will connect her with you, Nick, so that you can take it from there.
Sounds good.
All righty. Last agenda item, commission's budget, specifically bathrooms along the NRVT at the Riverside parking lot. Christine was the one who brought this up. Is there an update either from TMP side or from Christine's side? Christine, I think maybe it's
so I'll do a quick update for everybody. So
okay,
Rec and Parks are the one that manages the NRVT from just a maintenance perspective right now. Obviously it is on state property, but we, the Riverside parking lot, but we do have an agreement with the state, so it's fine to put it there. The thing is if the commission wants to move forward with it, the costs, the monthly cleaning costs, the order, everything has to be supplied by the commission. The city doesn't want to take, allocate funds towards the portable bathroom. So it would be all from the commission funds if you all are interested in moving forward with it. And if we do move forward with it, then we'll just need 3 quotes to move forward with it.
Gotcha. I see a couple hands up, but first I'm going to turn the time to Christine, because I think, Christine, you were working on getting like just a single quote to start, right? Just to get a ballpark.
I did, and to be honest with you, I don't remember what it was. It's called the GI Johns. It's kind of a cute name, but they're the ones that are around of the schools that I guess there's a contract. The city has a contract with GI Johns, and some of the money goes to the veterans. It didn't sound like a lot of money to me. I don't want to say $50 a month. Maybe that would add up. But then the purchase of one, or the rent, the leasing, there was one cost, and it didn't sound like a lot of money to me. But I can get the quotes. But I'm curious what Paul and Judd have to say on this.
Sorry, I was muted. Judd, go ahead first.
Okay, Christine, are you talking about like a simple porta-john that you see at a construction site, or something more?
Nope, that's exactly right.
So as a contractor, I pay about $150 a month for one of those, and they come and clean it, and once a week for that fee. So we would be on the hook if that's what we're going to do, a single porta-john. And it may, in the summertime, it may need cleaning more often.
Thanks for that ballpark, Chad. Just to do the math, that comes out to about $1,800 a year, which is in our budget, but it's a substantial chunk of our budget. Go ahead, Paul.
I think it's a bad idea to take this on. One, it's going to be expensive. 2, I'm thinking about the operational implications. What if something happens, off hours or something like that? I don't think we want, as a commission, to be responsible with this. My operational mind just starts to go off and be like, red flag, red flag.
And just to piggyback off of Paul, one other thing too, they do get vandalized. So I don't know what the liability is, if it is damaged, or what has to be covered, if there's there's an insurance liability that needs to be attached to it. So
who pays for these at the schools? Because they're all over.
I don't know.
It's a city. It's a city contract. They have it with Parks and Rec, I think, because I called this company and they said they have a contract with the city, like with the Parks and Rec.
So I spoke with Ken Hughes, who's the superintendent, and he didn't mention that to me. He just said we don't have the money to spend on another porta potty right now. He said it would be on the commission to buy it because he said they're a hassle, and even the police department has to get involved a lot because they get vandalized. And he just said it's not something he really wants to take on. It was already stretched staff right now and resources. And if you see him at the school, are you talking about the schools that are currently under construction right now?
There's one at Merrimack. That's not under construction. It's right there by the baseball field.
Yeah, I don't know who got that. I don't know if it is the city. I don't know.
Well, I called the GI Johns, and it is the city. They have a contract with the city.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other ones along the NRVT, so I don't know.
Christine or anybody else, I can see the utility of having this in theory, but just to get some additional evidence, has anybody heard other feedback from people maybe not in this meeting about the need for a toilet along the NRVT? Like, are people asking for this? Are people complaining about this?
I have not.
Jim Carter, has it come up at all, or has it ever been considered, or you
I would
think it's
say,
a need?
So no, it's never come up, and candidly, we haven't considered it. I guess I'd say we're wary of it for the reasons that Paul and Greg have kind of outlined. That I mean, in particular, I guess in our case, I mean, we're very seldom very far from civilization, I guess I would say. So it doesn't seem like a priority for us, and strictly from our standpoint, from a trail standpoint.
I do think that's a good point, that we are still in an urban area. If this were out in the middle of the woods, it might be a little bit different. Christine, if you want to keep working on this, I think that the next step would be to confirm within the city like what the contract looks like and what the marginal cost of adding one more porta potty would be, but also to investigate how much of the like risk the operator company, the provider, would take on for stuff like vandalism. It sounds like if the police department is getting involved with these other porta potties that are around the city, that that would probably be the same here, and so it would be some more like complexity that we'd be taking on. What are your thoughts, Christine?
Well, I don't want to take up any more time. Honestly, I thought of this when we were looking to spend a lot of our money. So, it would take some of our budget, but I am going to make the phone call again to this company and ask about the contract, and that's it. No, thanks everybody for your feedback.
This did remind me that there's been some movement from what I've heard on that section of the trail. I don't know if TMP has any more updates than just what people can see from the road with their own eyes, but there are like metal beams that have gone in at the north end of Riverside Ave, where we're ultimately going to get a bit of a bridge boardwalk scenario. Greg, do you want to provide any more details?
Yeah, so I only know about it on a high level, but yeah, I guess so last week they were putting in some metal rail work and bridge work on that end of the trail, and expanding that a little further in that northern area up there. But that's kind of all the update I have right now. I don't have any further details.
The only ad that I can put on is I think, and this is informal. I think the steel work is now all in, and what I'll call the boardwalk, although they're not boards, the boardwalk surface, those units that form the boardwalk are on site. So things are moving would be my comment that I'd offer. So I'm encouraged, and again, tip a hat to all the team that has persevered here.
Yeah, +1 to that. Obviously, we have no official word, but it seems based on this trajectory that this is likely to get done before the end of the season.
I spoke to Jim earlier. His don't hold me to it. Target was by the end of this month.
Well, that will be amazing, and I look forward to using it whenever it gets done, and hopefully that's by the end of this month. Okay, I don't think there's anything else to report there besides additional speculation, and we've done plenty of that. That brings us to the end of our agenda, with the one exception of approving the meeting minutes. Last month, we did not vote on the minutes. This month, I am pleased to report that I have read the minutes from both meetings. Delene, you're still with us, right?
So Darlene's not here tonight. She's
Oh,
on
Darlene's not
vacation.
here.
Yeah. So she's gonna watch the video, and she'll take the minutes. Going forward, and then we sent you all the minutes earlier this month from September's meeting, so you all got a direct link to it.
Yes, I noticed that in your email. Thank you for that. So then I'll just read into the record. I have a couple of quick corrections. In the August minutes, there's a misspelling of the word league in the phrase League of American Bicyclists. And then in the September minutes, there's just a couple of misspellings. Matt Pence's name should be Pentz, and Kyle Benjamin should be Benjamin. Those are the only corrections that I had for the minutes. Anybody else have comments on the minutes other than a motion to approve them? Okay, in that case, I'll entertain a motion to approve the August minutes. Christine, thank you. Do I have a second? Emily and Nick, and then I'm, I think, the only other commissioner who's here. So, oh no, we have Manny. Manny, I forgot about you. Would you like to?
I'm not able to vote yet because I haven't been sworn in.
Oh, you haven't been sworn in. Okay. Well, I hope you're able to do that soon. But in the meantime, I think that means that passes unanimously. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the September minutes. Christine, thank you. A second. Nick and Emily, and then I'll vote as well. So that's unanimous as well. Excellent. Despite all the time that we spent with the 715 project team, I believe we've covered everything on the agenda, and it's only 7:36. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. All right, we got everybody. I'll add my vote to that, and it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Greg, for representing TMP. Thanks to Jim Carter, who I think has already dropped, for representing NRBT, and of course the 715 project team that's already left. Thank you, everybody. See you next month.
Thank you.
And take the surveys.